Today we are looking at 9 grinding tools that American men used in their garages between 1940 and 1965. Every one of them worked. Every one of them got the job done faster, cleaner, and cheaper than what replaced them. And every one of them was eventually pulled from hardware store shelves because regulators, insurance companies, and liability lawyers decided that the man using the tool could not be trusted to respect it. Number 1 is the tool that shaped more steel in post-war America than any other grinding device ever manufactured, and you cannot buy it new today. Let us get into it. Number 9, the unguarded pedestal grinder. Not a bench grinder, a pedestal grinder. A cast iron column bolted to a concrete floor with a horizontal shaft carrying 2 12-inch vitrified stone wheels spinning at 3,300 revolutions per minute under a 1/4 horsepower induction motor. No wheel guard. No spark deflector. No adjustable tool rest with a locking mechanism. Just 2 spinning stones at waist height and whatever the man brought to them. Every serious garage from 1940 through 1960 had one. Baldor, Delta, and Craftsman all made them. They sharpened lawnmower blades, cold chisels, drill bits, and anything else with an edge that had gone dull. They cleaned rust-off castings and beveled pipe ends for welding. A vitrified grinding wheel is ceramic. It absorbs moisture over time. A wheel stored in an unheated garage through a wet winter developed invisible internal cracks. When the motor brought it to speed on a cold Monday morning, the forces at the rim could exceed the tensile strength of a compromised bond, and the wheel came apart. Not crumbled, apart. Ceramic shards at 3,000 revolutions per minute left the machine at speeds comparable to rifle fragments. The OSHA abrasive wheel standard of 1971 mandated full wheel guards and eye shields on all pedestal grinders sold for consumer use. The machines that could not be retrofitted were taken off shelves. The man who knew to ring test his wheel before mounting it, to stand to the side during spin-up, and to never grind aluminum on a wheel dressed for steel, lost a tool that did more work than anything that replaced it. Number 8. The flexible shaft grinder. A motor hung from a ceiling hook connected by a cloth braided steel flexible shaft to a handpiece the diameter of a fat pen. The handpiece accepted grinding points, carbide burrs, abrasive drums, wire cup brushes, and felt bobs for polishing. The motor ran constantly. The work came to the handpiece, and the handpiece went everywhere, porting an intake manifold, cleaning weld spatter inside a pipe, deburring a machined bore. Every one of those jobs happened with a tool that weighed 8 ounces and reached places no bench grinder could approach. When the shaft was kinked, or when the inner lubricant dried out, the inner cable unwound. An unwound, flexible shaft under power whipped. It snapped and lashed in a circle at whatever was nearest, which was the hands and face of the man holding the handpiece. The flexible shaft grinder was redesigned repeatedly through the 1960s to include breakaway couplings and automatic clutches. Each redesign increased the cost and reduced the torque. The man who owned the original 1948 version with no safety releases owned the most capable grinding tool ever sold to the American homeowner. He also owned the most dangerous one. Number 7. The angle grinder with no guard. The high-speed angle grinder arrived in American hardware stores by the late 1950s. The early versions had no disc guard and no side handle. A man gripping it with one hand and feeding material with the other had nothing between his body and a 9-inch abrasive disc spinning at 11,000 revolutions per minute except the distance he maintained by hand. A bonded abrasive cutoff disc could cut through half-inch mild steel in 8 seconds. Through exhaust pipe, through seized bolts, through frozen exhaust flanges. Every repair that previously required a hacksaw and 20 minutes became an 8-second cut. Bonded cutoff wheels were not designed for lateral force. A man who tilted the disc while cutting or let it bind in a slot loaded the wheel in a direction it could not tolerate. The wheel shattered, and the fragments left the machine at speeds between 100 and 300 miles per hour in a plane that passed directly through the operator's torso. By 1965, every major manufacturer had added a full disc guard, a second side handle, and a deadman switch requiring continuous grip from both hands. The tools without these features were pulled from consumer retail. Number 6. The wire wheel on a drill press. A cup-shaped wire brush with a threaded arbor mounted directly to the spindle of a floor-standing drill press. The press was set to high speed, somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 revolutions per minute, and used to strip rust from castings, clean paint from hardware, and descale weld beads that a wire brush by hand would have taken an hour to address. The drill press gave the wire wheel rigidity. Rigidity gave it cutting power. And in a post-war garage full of projects and no budget for a specialty rotary tool, the drill press was already bolted to the floor, and the cup brush cost $2 at the hardware store. Wire wheel bristles shed at speed. On a cup wire wheel at 4,000 revolutions per minute, ejected bristles left the brush tangentially at rim speed and penetrated work gloves, denim, and corneas with equal ease. Most men wore no eye protection because the job was quick and the goggles were on the shelf on the other side of the garage. A bristle moving at 50 miles per hour required no build-up time. It arrived before the decision to protect against it was made. The rigid drill press mount made the ejection problem worse. A handheld angle grinder with a wire wheel at least deflected slightly under bristle ejection force, spreading the pattern. The drill press held the wheel stationary and delivered every ejected wire in the same direction at the same point, toward the face of the operator leaning over the work to see what he was cleaning. ANSI grinding wheel standards adopted through the 1960s required maximum RPM ratings on all wire wheels, matched to the tool's rated speed and face shields as mandatory equipment rather than optional. The open cup wire wheel on an unrestricted drill press spindle became a violation under any workplace safety inspection. In home garages, it continued quietly for another decade. Number 5. The bench grinder with no rest on the wire wheel side, standard configuration in every American garage from 1945 through 1963. The stone side had a tool rest. The wire wheel side did not because wire wheel work did not rest. It was held by hand in front of a brush spinning at 3,400 revolutions per minute, with no barrier between the bristles and the fingers feeding the work. A man cleaning carburetor bodies or polishing exhaust manifold flanges held the part in both hands and pushed it against the wire wheel. If it caught, it moved in the direction of wheel rotation downward toward the gap between the wheel and the machine housing. The gap was 3/4 of an inch. Fingers are wider than 3/4 of an inch. Knuckles are not, and the distinction did not protect the tendons underneath. Mandatory tool rest requirements for wire wheel sides were added to consumer product safety standards in the early 1970s. The requirement reduced the accessibility of the wire wheel face and its usefulness for intricate work. The man who needed to clean the inside radius of a carburetor inlet found that the mandated rest blocked the angle he needed. He removed it, and the machine became exactly as useful and exactly as dangerous as it had been before. Number 4. The unguarded disc sander with a cloth abrasive sheet. A flat steel disc 8 inches in diameter rotating at 3,500 revolutions per minute with a cloth-backed abrasive sheet glued to the face. No guard, no table, no fence. Work was held against the disc by hand. Wood, mild steel, soft aluminum, body filler on automotive sheet metal. All of it shaped fast because the cloth abrasive on a flat spinning disc cut aggressively. Cloth-backed abrasive stretched before it tore. When it tore under tension, it unwrapped from the disc face in a rotating strip. A strip of cloth-backed abrasive unwrapping from a disc at 3,500 revolutions per minute became a flail. Pressure-sensitive adhesive backing replaced glued cloth sheet by the mid-1960s. The new adhesive held more uniformly, released cleanly when worn, and did not stretch before failure. This is one case where the replacement was a genuine improvement and not a compromise. Number 3. The knife grinder with an exposed vitrified cup wheel. A cup-shaped vitrified wheel rotated on a horizontal shaft while the operator presented the blade to the inside face of the cup. The cup shape ground the flat back of a blade and the primary bevel simultaneously in a single pass, producing in 4 minutes an edge that a flat wheel took 20 minutes to reach. It was sold by Sears and Montgomery Ward as a household appliance, positioned on the same catalog page as the electric knife and the waffle iron. Because professional sharpening results belonged in the home kitchen, and any man of the era understood that a sharp knife was not a luxury. It was the difference between a tool that worked and one that tore. The cup wheel failed at the rim. The thin wall of the cup, where the abrasive was thinnest and centrifugal force was highest, was the first point of failure when the vitrified bond was compromised by moisture or a hairline crack from handling. A flat wheel failure sent fragments in 2 general directions. A rim failure on a cup wheel sent them in one, outward from the open face of the cup, which was exactly where the operator's hands and face occupied during sharpening. The machine invited the operator close. The failure expelled material toward that same closeness. Consumer knife and tool grinders with exposed cup wheels were removed from home market distribution by the early 1960s. The professional versions remained behind steel shields in cutlery shops where trained operators used them daily. No home replacement produced the same edge at the same speed for the same cost. The home kitchen went back to the draw knife sharpener and the butcher's steel and accepted a lesser result. Number 2. The sandstone water wheel. A natural sandstone disc mounted on an electric shaft, rotating through a water trough that kept the stone wet and cool. Still sold through farm supply catalogs in the 1940s for sharpening axes, scythes, and draw knives used in agricultural work. The wet grinding prevented heat buildup entirely. Steel never lost temper at the edge. A hand axe sharpened on a sandstone water wheel held its edge through a full cord of firewood. The same axe sharpened dry on a vitrified bench grinder held through half a cord before the heat-softened metal at the bevel began to fold under impact. The stone cracked. Natural sandstone is sedimentary, formed in layers, and the layering created planes of weakness that manufactured abrasive did not have. A sandstone wheel run dry or struck on the rim, cracked along a bedding plane, and came apart under power. The fragments were large and left the machine slowly enough to see, but fast enough to cause serious injury. Electric sandstone water wheels were discontinued by every major farm supply distributor by 1962. Slow-speed wet grinders using manufactured aluminum oxide wheels replaced them. The manufactured wheel was safer. It was not the same tool. The edge it left was approved. The edge the sandstone left was trusted. Number 1. The steel cutting disc on a consumer circular saw with no anti-kickback guard. The original skill saw, produced through the 1950s, accepted an optional bonded abrasive cutoff disc matched to its 7 1/4-inch arbor. The disc turned at 4,500 revolutions per minute and cut structural steel, pipe, angle iron, and rebar in the same motion a carpenter used to crosscut lumber. The lower blade guard was designed for wood. Steel cutting produced sparks and metal shavings that degraded the guard's return spring and filled the hinge with swarf. The guard stayed open after the cut because the spring no longer had force to close against the accumulated debris inside the housing. An open lower guard on a circular saw with a steel cutting disc spinning at 4,500 revolutions per minute that contacted the operator's leg was not survivable. The disc did not cut like a saw tooth. It abraded at speed. 1 second of contact at full disc speed produced a wound that no tourniquet addressed in time. The steel cutting disc for consumer circular saws was removed from retail by every major abrasive manufacturer through the early 1960s. The man who needed to cut structural steel went back to the hacksaw. He went slower, he arrived at the same place, and he still had both legs when he got there. 9 tools. Every one of them removed not because they failed at the task, but because the task required a man to understand the tool completely before he used it. That understanding was expected. Then it was no longer taught. And once the knowledge stopped passing between men, the tools that required it had to go. The store shelves are safer now, the garages are quieter, and the work that used to be done by a man who knew what he was doing gets contracted out to someone who uses safer tools and charges accordingly. That is not progress. That is the price of forgetting.